What is going on with this Colby Covington situation? You guys keep coming to me for clarity. And I would like to give you some, but I'm still asking the question myself. What is going on with that situation? So you insert Darren Till versus Tyron Woodley. I get that. Some people don't. I don't have a big problem with that. In fact, I love the match. Love the match. Became a huge Darren Till fan and believer about a year ago when he took on Cowboy Cerrone. I didn't know who Darren Till was until then. I think he was 15-0 going to that fight, which made me wonder, what have I been missing? But he hadn't fought on TV yet. Then he comes out. That was a main event. Didn't last very long, and boom, all of a sudden Till's on our radar. So I got no problem there. People are pushing back that Till would be put into the spot having missed weight. There's no rule against that. There's just history, and history says you don't get a title fight if you've missed weight. That's actually old history, though. The class is current events, and there is a new precedent that says you do. Yoel Romero, just to throw a great example at you, fought Luke Rockhold, interim championship, but either way, the interim championship, the winner is going to go in for the undisputed championship. Yoel Romero missed weight, but he won the fight, and they moved forward with it and put him in for the real championship. Whatever happened after that, I get it. Won't recap the story, but the point is that I think it might have been the first time that a guy had ever missed weight and moved into it, because I'll show you another example, which is John Lineker. John Lineker was told, win this fight, and you will fight for the championship. He missed weight, but he won the fight. So Dana goes, okay, look, I can't give you the championship fight because you missed weight, but let's make the same deal again. Win this fight, and I'll put you in there for the championship. Lineker missed weight again, but won the fight. So Dana goes, okay, look, I don't know what's going on here, but let's make the same deal. Win this fight, and I'll give you a title shot. Lineker missed weight again, and he won the fight. They didn't give him the title shot. And I think all of us understood that. I think all of us go, well, yeah, a deal was a deal, and that's pretty hard, and these weren't main event fights. They were feature fights. They were number one contender. There was a lot on the line, but they weren't feature matches. Our card stayed intact. They weren't scheduled for 5 rounds. That didn't get disturbed. Everything same. And there wasn't the world's most hard feelings about it. But that did let us know that you cannot miss weight and then go fight for a championship. Now, of course, that's not a rule. That was just the policy at the time. I offer you that because there is a lot of resistance to Darren Till getting this fight. And that's just a narrative that I do agree with you teaches us something new. It does add to the theory of why make weight. I mean, that is a question that is now getting asked. Why make the weight? If it's not a title fight, if the title's on the line and you miss weight, the title is no longer on the line, as we saw with Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold. To remind you, that was a title match. Yoel missed weight. Yoel won the fight. Yoel did not win the championship. If he did make weight and his career ended today, he would go down as a champion. He did not make weight. If his career ends today, he does not go down as a champion. So there's huge consequences. But it does make you wonder, why make weight? What is the downside? What is the negative side? And for people that say, well, they take a piece of your purse, I can tell you as a fighter who has struggled to make weight, you would give that away every single time. And as a fighter who has never missed weight and had very big and meaningful fights, I would allow my opponent to miss weight every single time if I got that 20%. It's just not the right incentive or motivator. Do you want to change that? Go have a different discussion. I could weigh in on that one too. I just feel like it'd be a little redundant at this point. But I want to tell the story of what's going on here at welterweight, which is Darren Till missed weight meaningfully. I want to say by 7 pounds versus Wonder Boy. But timing matters. Timing matters in life, and we've seen tremendous opportunity in this sport because of timing. So I can't begrudge him because of that. There is a date coming up. It is in Dallas, Texas. It did not have a main event. Insert Darren Till, and the UFC went in the appropriate order. They came to Colby Covington first. The story is being told that they slid Colby Covington, that they stepped over him. You need all the facts because they actually did go to him first. Now, Colby came out and goes, yeah, Tyron Woodley, of course I want Tyron Woodley. Can't even believe you're asking me if I want Tyron Woodley. I'm the one that's made it clear that I want Tyron Woodley. In fact, I went through this other guy, RDA, for an interim championship just to get myself Tyron Woodley. However, you guys told me that fight was going to be in November-ish. I have been planning for November-ish. And as a matter of fact, in 48 hours, I have a very minor, but I have a surgery on my nose, a sinus surgery. So I do need a little bit of time to recover. I was not planning to do this fight. I have not been preparing. I've been recovering from my last 5-round fight. So I accept your fight, but I can't do that date. That's a reasonable answer. That's a reasonable way that the UFC handled it, by going to him first, and it's very reasonable that he said, I got this surgery and I gotta get through this part. The reason I bring that up as relevant is if we are giving concessions to understanding of a guy's situation, which does tie back into Darren Till. Darren Till had missed weight against Wonderboy. Grossly missed weight. I believe it was by 7 pounds. I believe he weighed in at 177 and change. I'm just not sure if that was a scratch weight fight of 170 or if he had a 171 allowance, which I think he did. So he either missed it by 6 or 7 pounds. Okay. Point being, he had a really, really good excuse. He was the first one to say, this is wrong of me. Take my purse. In fact, take more of my purse. I've screwed up. I'm at home. I agreed. I don't like guys that miss weight. I'm doing it. Punish me. The other side is he was at the hospital visiting a loved one. We've heard rumors of who that was, but it is confirmed he was at the hospital with a loved one. That took up his time and his ability to go and make the weight. So there was a human element to this that was understood, that was looked at and said, okay, look, we're not even going to hold that one against you. Okay, great. I get it. Where's the human element on Colby? He wasn't just visiting someone in the hospital. He's in the hospital. He wasn't visiting somebody having surgery. He is the guy who had the surgery. So if you want to move on with Darren Till and Tyron Woodley, love the fight. I think the fight makes sense. Going to watch it, excited about it. No resistance there. But the separate narrative is, why is Colby now being stripped? I'm very confused by that. And I would just remind you guys, in the first place, I mean, to take a guy's a title away without beating him, without him having been out, without him refusing matches. And please don't say he refused this fight. He accepted the fight. He refused the date. And not by a meaningful amount of time. He goes, look, I'll fight him. I'll even fight him this year. I was just under the assumption that it was going to be around November because that's what I was told. Got to go in and get the sinus thing taken care of, so I scheduled that. That was appropriate and responsible. I'm doing everything in order here. You've now shuffled the deck, and I can't do it. So I just want to ask, why are we stripping him? I think I will very successfully win the argument with you guys that is insensitive. It is insensitive to take away a guy's merits when he just beat a former world champion in RDA, who was a top contender, who had just beaten a world champion named Robbie Lawler. I mean, that was a very appropriate fight. Colby won 4 of the 5 rounds in dominant fashion. He deserved that. We got to give him that. To take his belt away, I think also creates another issue, which is simply the reason you needed a belt in the first place is that Tyron Woodley wasn't fighting. And it was never greatly explained to me why. I thought it was something with his arm, shoulder, a bicep, an elbow. I thought he had some kind of a surgery like that had kept him out. But he does have a history of being out. He has a history of being out to the point that they felt that division needed an interim champion. So what I am suggesting for you is that when Tyron goes through this fight with Darren Till, if he was to take the same break between this fight and his next fight that he did between his last fight and this fight, which prompted a need for an interim title match and an interim champion, it would seem reasonable to me to believe that in that division for right now, it's appropriate to have an interim champion. Imagine a different scenario, guys. Imagine we strip Colby, okay? Then imagine that I'm right, that Tyron Woodley goes out, he wins that fight, and he isn't able to defend in a meaningful period of time, and then they have to do an interim title fight. It would seem as though we wouldn't have to do that fight because we already have an interim champion. His name is Colby Covington. It would seem the counter to my argument would be the interim champion must be fighting the undisputed champion in their next fight. And if Colby cannot do that, or is not the one to do that, then the interim championship goes away. It would seem that that would be the counter to my argument. I would just raise you a recent example of Robert Whittaker being the interim champion at middleweight, Michael Bisping being the undisputed champion, and George St. Pierre stepping in and fighting Michael Bisping while Whittaker retained the interim championship. And you saw how important and valuable that order and sequence turned out to be. George St. Pierre takes the belt from Michael Bisping. George St. Pierre gives the belt back, says, I'm done, and Robert Whittaker becomes the undisputed champion. So instead of slowing up that entire division and having to book entire new matches and going on a press tour and having nobody holding the belt, they had Robert Whittaker there. So I would just ask you and offer to you my preference. And this is only an opinion thing, right, guys? I can't be right on this. No matter how passionate I am, I can't be right. I also can't be wrong because the people I'm arguing against can't be wrong. They just can't. That's the thing with the interim championship. It doesn't come with specific confines. It doesn't come with specific rules. It doesn't come with a specific architecture. It doesn't come with a specific playbook, and that makes it really hard to understand. So this is an impossible argument for me to win, so I won't cause an argument here. I will just share with you my opinion. I believe the storyline of Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley is very meaningful. I believe that fight needs to happen. I believe the call-outs in the journey here are significant. And I also believe when you couple the fact that they used to be training partners, I just think you have a lot of built-in narrative that leads us to the conclusion that that fight is going to happen. Maybe not next. It looks like it's Darren Till. Maybe not next, but that fight is going to happen. So I'm not sure why we strip him. I'm just not. And then how bad does it get from there, right? Let's say Tyron wins. I'm operating on under the assumption that Tyron wins. I think we would all believe he's going to fight Colby next. Let's say that's not true. You're going to take Colby's belt and he loses the opportunity. He loses his title and his opportunity without losing a fight. I see that as a problem. I see that as something that we should at least be speaking to so that we can have clarity for this situation, but also future situations like this. And maybe more me than some of you. The general belief and the general feeling from those that I have heard from is we hate the interim championship. Make the interim championship go away. That's the general belief. I like them. I like opportunity. I don't think that MMA has enough opportunities to become a world champion. I understand that those are growing, but I could take you guys back very recently. How many years? 6 years? 7 at most, when the women didn't even have the opportunity? Now women have 4 weight classes? 4 weight classes that are contested. So an entire gender is represented and 4 different opportunities. That's awesome. That's good news. I wish they had 10 weight classes. The men have a whole bunch of weight classes. I wish they had more weight classes. I like when people can have an opportunity to be champion, when they can have an opportunity to be a top contender, when they can have an opportunity to be a main event. So I like the interim title. That's me. But I do want to understand it. And whether I like it or I don't like it, I want to understand it. And that's where I'm at with this Colby Covington situation. I do not like it, but that's okay. There's plenty of things I don't like. But I want to understand them. And at this one, I'm at a loss.